or good morning again. And thank you very much for joining us today. We are very happy to welcome you for this second webinar organized for the European Doctoral Day. This webinar is organized by JT AI Labs and PhDTalent. I think on a topic that we believe is becoming absolutely central, the role of PhD level expertise in the future of artificial intelligence. So the title of this session is Shaping European AI Excellence, Why PhD level expertise is the Future of Frontier Models. So I think it's quite important because it reflects maybe two convictions of JTA Labs and PhDTalent. The first one is that artificial intelligence is entering a new phase. For several years, progress in AI has been driven by scale, more data, more computing power, more larger models. But we are now reaching a point where quantity is not enough anymore, and the next frontier is quality. Quality of reasoning, quality of evaluation, quality of knowledge, quality of feedback. The second conviction of today's session is that Europe has a very strong card to play in this new phase. Europe has world-class researchers, I mean you, strong academic traditions, deep expertise in many scientific and technical fields, and also a unique cultural and linguistic diversity. So this is not a weakness. It can become a major advantage. And you, PhDs, are trained to do something very specific. You question assumption, you detect weak reasoning, you evaluate evidence, you understand uncertainty, and you know how to produce rigorous answers to complex situations. And these skills are extremely valuable for the next generation of AI models. So this is what we will discuss today, why this expertise matters, what expert data annotation really means, why frontier AI models need researchers, and how us, JTA Labs, PhDTalent, are working together to create new opportunities for the PhD community. So today, I'm very pleased to be here with Juliette Laborie, Managing Director of JobTeaser and JTA Labs, and together we will try to make this session very concrete. So let's start by introducing ourselves. First, my name is Florian Andrianiazy. I'm the CEO of PhDTalent. So at PhDTalent, our mission is to connect PhDs with companies. We work with PhD candidates, PhD holders, universities, research institutions, and companies that need high-level scientific technical expertise. For many years, we have seen a strong evolution in the role of PhDs outside academia. Companies increasingly need people who are able to work on complex problems and to understand advanced technologies, to analyze scientific information, and to bring structure to uncertainty. In many domains, deep tech, healthcare, energy, finance, climate, industry, and now, of course, in artificial intelligence. So that's all for PhDTalent. Maybe Juliette, you can present yourself.
Yes, of course. Thank you, Florian. So hello, everyone. So my name is Juliette. I am the managing director of, as Florian was saying, of both JobTeaser and JTA Labs, which is this new initiative that we are building. To tell you a little bit about JobTeaser, because some of you may be familiar with it, maybe not all of you. JobTeaser has been around for quite a while. We've been around for 15 years now. We are Europe's #1 career platform for young talent recruitment. So what we do, some of you might be familiar, is we basically provide the infrastructure of career services across 800 universities and schools across Europe. So if you have been to a big public university, especially in France, Germany, but also the Netherlands, the Nordics, Spain or Italy, chances are when you've connected to your career service platform looking for an internship or a job, you were connected on the JobTeaser interface. So that's our historical activity. What this gives us is a huge network, obviously, across academic and higher education institutions in Europe. It also enables us to have access to a database, a user database of 2 million active students, young graduates, young professionals, also researchers. It breaks down roughly as written here. Basically, we have around 1 million master's level degree and above, so including PhDs, PhD holders, postdocs, etc., 40,000 MBAs, etc. So we have a huge community already that's based on our historical activity. And now I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what it is that we are now sort of not pivoting, but adding on as an activity to this historical activity, which is basically that of traditional recruitment. And as Florian already alluded to, why we think there is something huge to be done here, and especially connecting PhDs in the widest sense of the term to these opportunities that are now afforded by the development of AI models. So let me give a bit of a sense of what we're talking about here. So we, as Florian alluded to, the AI is, well, moving really, really fast. And if some of you are in the room, as I can imagine, are experts in this, please bear with me. I am not a technical expert, so I might misuse some terms. But just directionally speaking, what's happening now is the quantity of data ingested by models, the compute power remain very important today in the development of AI models, but it's not enough anymore. What makes an AI model better than its competitors, more on the edge of what it can do, is also the quality of the training, and especially of the post-training that it receives. We're still also not at the stage, and I think we will never be at the stage where you can, models sort of train themselves infinitely. Today, we still see whenever a model is sort of training itself or relying only on synthetic data sets, you still see model collapse or models drift because at some point you need an anchoring that is human, like provided by humans. And so we still need and probably more than ever, human-led expertise and more advanced human expertise to ensure that the models go into the right direction. So this is something that is quite a massive trend we're talking about because there is so much funding and also so much at stake with the development of those models. We see a lot of opportunities around what we call sort of human data annotation, and especially the more expert level data annotation. So what are we talking about when we are talking about this? Quite simply, it's having humans who are stronger than the models to train the models, test them, challenge the results, and correct its results until it gets better and better. And it's not, to be clear, it's not a linear thing. It's not something that, we've trained the models in whatever, physics, and now the model is good at physics and we'll never need anyone to look at it again. No, it's a much more iterative cycle. It's very cyclical. So you're going to do a specific aspect of a domain, then you're going to come back to it a few months later. So it creates a lot of need for this. So the point is about providing ground truth to the model to shape its behavior. What an expert does, we'll see a couple of examples right after, so we try to make it very tangible for you. It's about either showing the model how it should behave, so you're going to write sort of examples that it can then model its behavior on. You can correct what the model outputs are, so say, okay, this is good, this is bad, maybe ranking it, and then it's also about sometimes challenging it and pushing it to its limits to see where it breaks. It's incredibly important. It's what's called RLHF. You might have seen the acronym. It's reinforcement learning from human feedback. So why? I mean, Florian already started to talk about it, but I'll let him explain a bit more about why this massively matters for, and why this sort of is a huge opportunity for a population like, you know, PhD holders in general.
Yeah, as Juliette said right now, the idea is quite simple. The idea is that models need humans who are able to go beyond the model. Today, with today's models, you can write, summarize, translate code, analyze document, and answer questions in many domains. But the problem is that the model can produce answers that look correct while being logically weak or wrong. And this becomes very important in specialized fields such as medicine, biology, physics, and so on, finance. So in those very specific fields, being true is very, very important. So a model may use the right vocabulary, but miss the real reasoning in the specific domain. It may cite concepts without understanding the methodological limits. It may make a plausible argument while ignoring a critical exception. It may also give a confident answer where a real expert will say, wait, this depends on the assumption and the context and the environment. And this is what we call the expert gap written in the slide. So the model can imitate expertise, but it cannot reliably validate expertise by itself. So finally, to improve, it needs feedback from people, you PhDs, who can detect what is wrong at a very deep level. And that's why we need PhDs.
Yes, exactly. And to add to that, not only PhDs, but we strongly believe with this new initiative with JTI Labs that there is something about the European edge that is incredibly important and sort of specific to our market for many reasons. One of them being obviously which we alluded to earlier, but the linguistic depth. Today, models are massively trained, especially the ones who are being developed in the US, which is a huge majority of them, are still natively trained in English, which is a fact, but raises questions as to how the models are trained in the other languages in which they are expected to perform. And that creates, and I'm sure you've all experienced it with, we have a very international audience, so you've all experienced it in your own native languages. Models are much less performing in other languages than English. Well, that's a question, and that is today a limitation that we are well placed to solve because collectively we hold much better linguistic knowledge than the current experts. That specificity, diversity also holds beyond languages only. Think about legal systems. Think about sometimes even the way medicine is practiced. The human body roughly works in the same ways across geographies, but the way you practice medicine is going to differ. Finance as well, you have regulatory frameworks, etc. So you have true regional specificity, which today is not fully accounted for in the way models are trained by current actors. The last aspect is obviously something that matters a lot, which is this. We are talking about data. We're talking about data being produced by individuals, being used, etc. You want to have this being done in frameworks which are compliant with the countries in which this work is being performed. And because we have this anchoring into the European ecosystem, we are much better placed to help the experts navigate the way they are supposed to set themselves up from an administrative perspective, what are their tax obligations, etc. We have this sort of much closer knowledge of how this works, and we can provide work in a sort of transparent and safe environment from that perspective. And it's something that we really truly want to highlight as part of this offering. So maybe just to get even more tangible in terms of, okay, what are we talking about when we're talking about this sort of data annotation mission? These are just 3 examples. There are many ways this happens, but it's basically looking at, so 3 examples. One of them can be, you can do things like side-by-side evaluation, which is, and I'm sure you've run into this maybe on the models you use every day already, which is sometimes you're going to be asked to evaluate 2 answers and to provide your take on which one is the best one. But here you'll have to not only say, okay, I prefer answer A, but actually I'm going to have to provide a rationale to justify why answer A is better than answer B, which is a very important aspect that I want to mention. Is when you do these tasks, it's about your expertise, but it's also about your ability to articulate your expertise in a way, conceptually, in a way that the model will be able to understand and ingest. So it's also an interesting intellectual challenge, actually, to not only do what you do well, but also to frame it in a theoretical, sort of conceptual way that is understandable by the model. Interestingly, usually people who have been doing some very advanced research work are quite good at this, because it's part of your sort of core skill set to understand which theoretical frameworks you're using, etc. Another type of task you might be asked to do is what's called adversarial testing, which is basically you try to break the model. So you're going to ask the model, for example, here it's about you're going to give it different data sources in different formats, maybe with different levels of quality or granularity, and you're going to ask it a complex question. And if it fails, then you are going to be providing it the gold standard resolution so that it can move forward. Third one, something called document reasoning, which is basically same thing. You're going to give it, a slot of documentation with a problem. It's a little bit like a case study, type of test. You're going to give it like maybe 5-10 documents with a question, and you are going to be writing the step-by-step logic for solving the problem using the documents and in which order that this happens, etc., etc. So that's just to make it tangible. This is what we are talking about when we talk about data annotation. It can happen on different types of platforms. Sometimes it's very basic. You're going to be working in a spreadsheet. You have also a dedicated annotation platforms that manage the data pipeline, etc. But at the heart of it, this is what it is. So the partnership, and why are we together today with Florian talking about this? Well, the idea is we're building this, we're leveraging our existing community of users, but obviously we want to go further. And we met Florian a few months ago, and we started to discuss this and thought there was a lot of opportunity actually to bring our strengths together to basically ensure that JTI Labs can offer these opportunities to as many PhD holders as possible. I don't know, Florian, if you want to say more about the partnership.
Yes. Well, from the PhDTalent perspective, of course, our job is to bring access to a large and highly qualified network of PhD candidates, PhD holders, researchers, and so on, of course. But the value is also on the fact that at PhDTalent, we know the academic ecosystem very well. So we know how to identify the right expertise at the right place, since the missions will be very focused on specific expertise. So we know that a PhD in computational biology, for example, is not the same as a PhD in organic chemistry, and we will be able to find the best labs and the best PhDs and the best postdocs to work on the missions.
Exactly. So what it is exactly that we offer? It's basically it's what we call full stack delivery model. we start by, and together with PhDTalent, we start by finding the right people. So we are commissioned by Frontier AI Labs, by other actors who are building models and refining models. We are commissioned on specific projects. For example, we're going to have an adversarial testing project on econometrics. And so we are going to start by sourcing and qualifying the right people to participate in that project. So that will is something that we'll do in partnership with PhDTalent. There is a qualification step that I will insist on, is quite selective. Again, we are talking about quite advanced tasks. You have seen what we're talking about. This is advanced work. So there is an interview. There are interviews that you have to take. There is selection, double selection. Usually, it starts with an AI-led interview, which is sort of a first step, like a sort of standardized test to check whether your knowledge set will fit with the project request, with what the project is demanding. Then there is a human selection, always. So it's always 2 steps. Then you're going to be onboarded on the project. You're going to be working, producing data. There is a very important aspect around quality assurance. So we need to have very rigorous methods to ensure that we produce high quality data sets. And then we also manage, obviously, all of the administrative and payment aspects. So, sort of contract and invoicing. So it's sort of end-to-end, the sort of end-to-end model to deliver in the end those high quality data sets to our clients. So why do it? If you're listening and you're thinking, okay, why should I do it? Well, there are many reasons. What I would say, the intellectual impact aspect is quite an interesting one. For me, there are different ways of seeing it. For me, it's a way of applying your expertise, the expertise that you have gained and worked for, to a field that is constantly moving, that is most likely going to transform the way we work, the way we approach a lot of dimensions. And it's a way, I think, for you to participate in that, to also potentially shape it, because you're going to be participating in moving the way AI is being applied in your field of expertise. So there's a relationship that is quite close there. I think it's also a very good way of understanding very deeply how those models work, what they can do, what they cannot do, what they are good at and not so good at. And it's a way of gaining really hands-on experience of how to use them and how it's how it works. Second, because it does matter, it is paid for work. It is, each mission will have its own rate associated to it, but generally speaking, it's quite well paid. It's by the hour, but it's quite well paid work. Again, valuing the expertise that you bring, which can be a nice addition as well. It's flexible and remote, so it combines well with the other activities that you may have. You do not need previous AI experience. You will gain AI expertise and AI experience by working on this. And lastly, again, it's European focused, not in the sense that we only work with European companies. I'll be very clear. Right now, our main partner is a company called Micro One, which is a US company, because that's where today certainly 90% of the market is located. So we also abide by that reality. But the aim is to develop as much as we can partnerships with European companies, European builders, people working on this from a diverse perspective, because that diversity aspect is something that we hold very, very dear. So that's it for the moment when we are talking. Just before I yield the floor for the questions, what to do with this information? Well, again, if you want to join, please scan the QR code, click on the link. We are recruiting experts already. We would love to have you on the platform. Number one. Number two, if you are specifically interested, if you want to participate, we are building this. It's a new endeavor. We are building this. So if you are, if you want to participate more than just in annotation mission, if you're interested in coming and joining the team, if you have contributions to make on how we build this, I'm very interested in talking to you. We want to make this work. Overall, we also want to make this work for the people who will be participating in it. So please feel free to reach out. And now, obviously, if you have questions, let us know. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Juliette. Yes, the presentation part was quite short to leave the space to your to your question. Really, if you want to join the platform, do not hesitate. You just have I have put the link in the chat tab. You just have to click on the link. Well, we have almost half an hour to answer your question. We are ready to answer any kind of question about this project. So please let us know. Can talk about the missions itself, the maybe the expected level of expertise. Do we need to have the PhD accomplished or being a postdoc? Maybe Juliette, can you tell us more about the onboarding project process? Sorry, on the platform.
Sure. So the way it works is it's quite simple. So you're going to click on the link. You're going to have to sign up to. So here you will be able to fill out your profile. So we'll need. I mean, the more information you give us, the better we are able to match you to the right projects. So we will need sort of a CV, a LinkedIn profile if you have one, and also fill out sort of skills overall. Then you will be able to join the marketplace. You're also important details also that we need are things like your availability, how many hours are you able to work in a week, in a month, that we can also gauge your engagement level. So then you'll be able to join the marketplace and see the projects. I have seen in the chat some people who were complaining about someone who's probably already been on the platform and was complaining about the fact that it's a bit of a mess. We are working to make it better every day. So very soon we'll have a proper matching algorithm. So you'll get to see first the projects that are relevant to you. Already you can see which projects are in high demand. So which ones are very actively recruiting. So you can search through the database of projects and then you apply. When you apply, it depends if it's a own project or a partner project. So if it's our own project, you'll be immediately taken to an AI interview on the JTI Labs platform, where you will be tested. We will look at your profile, but we will first, the thing that matters most is the live test. So making sure that, because the project will require some such specific knowledge that we really need to hone in on a few questions. So you take an AI interview, which can take between 15 and 30 minutes, which will then yield a score, and then you'll be selected and staffed on the project. So the staffing aspect, it can take a few days, obviously, because if you pass the bar of the AI interview, then it can take a couple of days for us to staff you on the project, because we might need to have a critical threshold of selected reviewers before we move on. If it's a partner project, it will be the same process, but you'll be taken to the partner platform to do the process.
Thank you, Juliette. We have two questions. Does this include professional doctorates too?
So can you, yes, basically anyone who is highly skilled professional, and I'm saying professional as PhDs are professionals, who is a highly skilled professionals in the field of expertise is eligible. The only thing that could, and basically the two things that could bar you from participating is if you don't have the right level of skill, which we will assess. Second, if for some reason your employment status does not allow it. So, if you're working with a university who doesn't want you to do such activities, then that can be a problem, but that's, obviously, and you should not do it if that is the case. And I can see so the answer is yes, it does. Average salaries that can be expected when joining a project, well, that varies a lot on projects. It does not go very low. Normally you should not, I mean, there can be exceptions, but normally you should be, it should start somewhere around, let's say 30 euros per hour, and it can go very high for certain types of expertise. It can go up to 150 to 200 euros per hour. That happens. It's not all the projects. Don't expect to see all the projects that high, but there is a huge distribution. Then, is it actually possible to engage in developing the models in a larger scope, not just in the validation process? Do you hire people for model database development? Yes, we do. We are actively hiring for people to join our what we call the delivery team or the science team. So basically developing our QA frameworks, ensuring that we have the right models. So please do reach out if you're interested. What about people, PhDs? PhDs are people. Computer science, AI background, to do not whether in fact, it can still be relevant, Miriam, because quite a few training complexities for AI models are still related to AI or computer science. So have a look on the platform. Definitely, there can be some interesting things for you as well. If you got it right, your company is France-based. Yes, it is France-based, but it is not a problem if you do not speak French. You can work in English. I mean, as I was saying, the models tend to be predominantly in English, so a lot of the missions will actually happen exclusively in English. But also we have obviously other demand for other languages, even beyond French and English. There is a linguistic diversity is an important thing. How does the performance platform compare with Aligner? Very good question. So it's roughly the same type of business model. So we are providing expert annotation data to frontier labs and enterprises, which is the same thing that Aligner does. What's different about it is the European focus and European aspect. So we are exclusively focused on hiring, well, European-based experts. It doesn't mean you have to be from a European country, definitely, but it's Europe-based experts. And we have this, the vision is that we promote a more balanced and diverse vision of where AI models should go and live. And so we also are working on specific partnership with more European companies. So we will work with US companies, but we will also have a very strong focus on developing partnerships with European companies. Are they online or in-person jobs? They are online. It will never be fully in person. It's 98% online. There can be some exceptions where maybe on a specific project, they might want you to come in once, but that's very rare. It's mostly remote. What the JTI lab itself receives, or how the collaboration model works on your side from a monetary perspective, and if we want, yes, so are there any fees, commissions, or costs involved if one finds a project through the platform? Yes, there are. We are basically, I mean, at different levels. So if you are finding a project with a partner through the platform, there is a sourcing. It's a typical sort of sourcing model where there is a fee that we take over that. When it's our own projects, obviously, we are providing the entire infrastructure to produce the actual data sets. So it's the same thing. It works as and there are costs added to that the client will pay on top of what's being paid to the expert, because there is a delivery cost basically associated. If we find an offer, is it eligible for requesting a working visa? Do we have to be EU citizens? You will have to be eligible to work in the EU. You have to be authorized to work in the EU for this to work. Unless there can be on certain partner projects, it can be a bit different. It's usually specified on every single project if you can or not, which eligibility is. I mentioned that no AI expertise required, but PhD student with an expertise in biology and neuroscience. That is a very interesting profile. with, I mean, biology, neuroscience is a very hot topic right now. There is quite a bit of demand for it. So that would be you would be definitely eligible for projects with us. It's a very, very interesting field for us. Do you need to have a specific professional status to take part in the projects? Yes, you do. Depending on your country of residence, you need to comply with so yes, auto-entrepreneur in France would be the right one. And we provide information on the platform for so that you know. We don't do it for you because that's something that you have to do. But you need to be registered with the relevant authorities to be able to do that work. Pharmacists, are you eligible? Is it online? So online job, we said it's online. Pharmacists, yes, I think that can be very. I mean, right now we have 400 projects on the platform, so I don't know all of them by heart. I don't know if there is one for pharmacists, but I would definitely think that this actually very relevant field of expertise. Basically, it's very advanced knowledge in a topic in a field where there is huge economic implications. So that type of correlation usually creates demand for annotation. There seem to be two contradicting statements. Could you please clarify the AI interview step? You said earlier that knowing. Yes, I don't think it's contradictory. I think it's sequential. So you don't need previous AI expertise, but by doing the work, you will gain experience, knowledge, expertise of how AI models work, basically. And are there questions in the AI interview, like basic AI questions? Not really. I mean, again, I haven't done the 400 interviews on all of the project, but normally there shouldn't be unless the project clearly specifies it. What there will be is questions, again, often around your ability to structure your thinking in a sort of logical and conceptual way that can be ingested by a model, which is different. It's not about AI, it's about logic. It can be, about your ability, how you're going to justify your answer in a way that a model can then ingest, which for me that's the kind of thing that can come, that's not specifically domain related. That's sort of general skill, but it's not about AI. So you completed your bachelor and master's degree in Iran. You have a student visa, do not have a contrat doctoral, not funded by a scholarship. Well, so I'm not an expert in this in the administrative status. What I'm reading is that if you are allowed to work 20 hours per week, that sounds like a interesting. I mean, I don't know if you're saying that it's difficult because it's too much or too little, but if you're saying it's too, I mean, the limitation is low. I mean, we have lots of missions which would be around that amount of time, so that actually could be a good fit. If you're allowed to work, from a visa perspective, then that could be those types of missions could be a good fit for you. Are the projects relevant to AI application side or platform development? So I would say generally no. They tend to be more on the foundational side of the models. I'm not sure I understand your question correctly, so feel free to type again if you feel I'm misrepresenting. But it's more about the foundational side of the models. So how they think rather than how they are actually applied. If I understand the question correctly, because then that's a bit. Then how can researchers in fields like mine, AI, translation, cultural data, find companies that support them from the early stages of a PhD so that the research can be done in collaboration with industry? Well, that's a slightly different order of question. So here what we're talking about is freelancing missions doing expert data annotations. It's true that it's not, this is not about, and Florian is much more expert at this than I am. This is not about integrating a PhD into our company to make them work on a specific topic. I know such things exist, but probably they're not the topic of today. Florian, I don't know if you want to add something on this.
Yes, it seems that you are based in France, if I understand well. There is one initiative called CIFRE, in which you can be sponsorized and hired by a company to do your PhD for them, and then at the end, the PhD gets his PhD or her PhD at the end of the contract, and the company gets the property of the results of the research. I don't know if that was a question, but you can try to find a company using that specific administrative initiative.
Great. So the next question, rather philosophical and open. Are we thinking about the long-term sustainability for domain subject expert in terms of AI model trained on such expert topics, negatively affecting the job market for experts? Yes, we are thinking, and I will not claim to have all of the answers. I will tell you what I think. I think that right now, and it's a take that people are it's fine, it's okay to disagree on this. This is a very highly debated space where things are moving really fast. So my take on it is the train of AI is moving. It's happening. And it will affect the job market. Some of it will be negative, some of it might be positive. What I feel is that if we stay on the side of it, if we decide not to participate, we won't have a chance to influence the direction in which it goes. And that's a little bit what's behind also the JTI Labs initiative, is to say, we want to build a community of experts, a force on the markets that actually can have a voice, a European voice, strong, that can, and I'm not, maybe, maybe it won't be enough because the direction is already decided, but I think by doing something like this, by having, again, creating something that has a little bit of volume, a little bit of magnitude, we can actually maybe have a voice on as to where this should go. Not only where this is going, but actually where this should go. And that's also the idea behind it. So we think about it. We are obviously preoccupied by it. And again, the point is more, okay, then let's get on the train and try to help shape things in a direction that feels right, or that is right from a sort of governance perspective. There are lots of topics associated to it, data governance, certification, security, lots of things. Again, if we are not doing this, then other people will do it. And so that's sort of the thinking behind it. Again, and I'm trying to be we're trying to be quite humble also about it, in terms of being very open to debate and discussion on the shape this takes. But again, we're making the choice to get on it and try to work things through. You are Nigerian, but living permanently in Ireland on stamp 4 permanent residency. Can you do the remote job without restrictions, as I don't have any restrictions in Ireland? So I do not know what stamp 4 permanent residency is, but if you are eligible to work in Ireland, and you are eligible to sign up for whatever administrative status you need in Ireland to perform freelancing work, then yes, you can do it. Are non-PhD students eligible? Yes, you are. In certain discipline, you will be. I mean, it depends on the project. In certain disciplines, certain projects, a master's level will be sufficient. Usually, it's paid a little bit less, but it's still okay. Again, we're not on low-paid opportunities there, but it can happen. It's all about the field of expertise. For the projects, which profile interests us the most? What about law? Law interests us a lot. Law is very interesting, especially from a European perspective. Again, as I was saying, lots of diversity in the systems. It's very varied. Economics is very economic sort of finance, very interesting for us. Also STEM, math, physics. It's lots of things, and lots of new projects come up all the time. It's a fast moving field, so you can feel, and but law, yes, lots of opportunities in law. Postdoctoral, yes, as well. Again, provided your institution allows it, depending on your status of employment. It's about advanced knowledge and advanced expertise. Actually, the more advanced you are, you can even qualify. That's also something to mention, that if you're doing a lot of projects and you're really good at it and you're interested and you want to commit more and more, the idea is that you start as a freelancer on project, but then we will also be structuring our domain expertise as we go. And so there are maybe advanced positions that can open up where you become like a reviewer of other annotators' work. If you're very advanced postdoctoral or even a researcher, maybe there are specifically advanced opportunities that can also open up. What about the interviews for the job offers that they contain using specific AI tools? Yes. If it's us or on the platform, like we're using it's AI tools, sort of voice AI that will you'll have a conversation with a voice or an avatar that will be asking you questions. I'm at portage salarial without a mission. Is it possible to join AI Labs? You are testing my knowledge of the administrative system, and I am sorry I don't have the answer. But I think my email was shared a bit earlier in the conversation. You can write to me, and I'll keep. I'll get back to you. Do you think this type of mission, if things go well, could lead to long-term job with a company while keeping similar work conditions? I mean, it is possible. But it's not a given. I mean, it's the basis of the work is project-based, temporary, and remote. In certain cases, I mean, this is a fast-moving field with sort of fast developing, lots of new needs arising. So it's always possible, but I wouldn't do it with this in mind as the objective, except in the sense that, again, you're going to get experience and knowledge, which might make you better eligible to that type of work in a permanent company. How about projects in MD simulation for biological systems? I don't know what MD simulation is in this in this context, but I'm going to assume that it's in the field of biology and potentially sort of computational systems and simulations. I think that sounds like the type of area where there can be quite a lot of need. So I would definitely check it out. And have we come to the end of the questions?
Yes. We have one question in the Q&A tab. What if I live outside Europe, but I study in a university in France?
It depends. It all depends on your visa status. I'll put my email back in the chat. So it all depends on your visa status. If you have a visa status that allows you to work, then you can. If you don't, then it's not possible. I'm just typing my email. Oh, we got one. So is it also possible to also volunteer if one is already working and not sure if they can take more paid work? Well, yes, but I would advise against it. This is valuable work that you're doing, and you should be paid for it. It's so. However, I mean, there are lots, and I'm not necessarily a huge expert in this, but there are lots of nonprofits that are thinking about sort of AI for good and governance in AI and ethics. So, which if you want to give some of your time to something that is related to this field, I'm sure you can find it in with a lot of opportunities on this. Is it possible to when can we expect to hear back from you? On what? Sorry, I think you. Yeah. So the next step. I just saw your earlier question, Takwa. So the next step I would suggest is click on the referral link, get on the platform, sign up, look at the projects, and that's the best way to see if there are opportunities that fit your profile. And then field of clinical psychology. Yes, there are opportunities for psychologists on the platform. That's a field that does matter. Any other questions?
Okay. You're welcome.
Thank you, everyone.
No question? Okay. Oh, there is one question. What previous experience is expected?
No, I mean, beyond the expertise that you bring to the table because of your academic background and your ability to, you need to write well. You need to write well and to be able to structure your thoughts in a logical and reasoned way. That's basically it. Addressing gaps in experimental medicine addressed by AI. Oh, yes. So I did not mention it specifically because I don't think that's the bulk of the audience here, but medicine is a hugely in-demand field. And when I was talking about the highest highest paid projects, medicine ranks quite high in there. So definitely, if that's your field of expertise, you can definitely check it out. Great. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Florian.
Thank you, Juliette. See you soon. Bye-bye.